The big thing I want to talk about is mostly for the area directors. Where are right now is more on an eerie note, kind of leftovers from October. The report's looking like a lot like an empty attic here. Currently, we are at 27% completed, 18% started, and 58% even haven't been started. I'm hoping that's simply because people haven't gone into the system and just filled things in. But that's 60 clubs that have not had their reports started in the system. And whether you visit it or not, we can't tell. But pretty much, we don't even qualify for being a distinguished district unless we get 75% of our clubs visits finished by the end of the month. And that's less than 22 days away. Don't hesitate to reach out if you need assistance. But I'm hoping by the end of this week, can we at least get 75% scheduled in the system, so I know at least if there are clubs that need to have their visits scheduled for themselves. We can step in and help, but we can't help. We don't know what's going on. We've had to replace one more area director just yesterday. So again, if you're stuck, if you haven't been able to get to your clubs, please let us know. Also, more importantly, each of the area directors, that's those of you who are area directors, needs to get 75% of your reports. So it's usually like 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 6, depending, filed, completed in order to receive credit. And remember, at the end, you have to submit it for those of you who have them in progress before the end of November at 10 p.m. on the 30th, because they lock people out. We had someone last year who did not get credit because they tried filing things at 11:58. The success of our district depends on you, because we need that. And go back for a moment. Many of you have visited your clubs already at least once, so it's just a matter of getting the reports filed. And pretty much don't wait until you're in a turkey-induced food coma, because the other area directors worldwide are doing the same thing, and it jams the site down. Again, November 30th, 10:01 Pacific is too late. Don't let this be you. Now, next slide. The other thing I want to mention is to bring to everyone's attention that we are extending the Successful Club Award. This is one of the awards in the incentive tracker, and it's designed to help clubs finish their goals early. Usually we qualify people for this with 5 DCP points, the Club Success Plan, which most people have already filed, and the Moments of Truth. And we're moving this out to the end of February. We recognize that there's an additional hardship for the fact that Pathways is now harder to finish levels in, so we're trying to be flexible with that. We may limit the amount of clubs that can win the award as a result, though, because it was designed as an early bird special. We're looking into that still. If you've never heard of this award or recognize this screen, you're not alone. So I'll take a moment to explain. Next slide, please. Clubs that are participating in any Distinguished Success Program points are earning incentive dollars that can be spent for certain things for your club, mostly gift certificates, but also things like the hardware that I'm using to bring to you my face on the screen. And just by being Toastmasters clubs and earning your points, you earn money. Right now, our top dollar award winner is Andy Shea with $245, and they've already spent most of their money. Congratulations. And they're the only club to complete and claim that previous slide's Completion of Successful Club Activities Award. We've made it just over $9,000 available to be earned by clubs, and clubs have earned over $4,000 of it so far. We lose any money that the clubs don't spend at the end of the year. So if your clubs don't know about this, please send your treasurer to treasurer training at the upcoming trainings. Area directors, if your clubs contain one of the following: Star Search, Speakers Forum, Southern Marin, Santa Rosa, Hacienda Park, Power Speakers, or Danville Toastmasters, tell them that they have everything they need except the Moments of Truth, and if they run it, file for the award. They have plenty of TCP points for it, and Hacienda Park, Southern Marin, and Santa Rosa actually have 60 CP points already, and it's not even December yet. So the three of them share the lead, and are on their way to being select distinguished. When you say hello, tell them they're at the front of the pack. Good news is always good to share. And that is my presentation for this. Please go ahead to Maureen's. Maureen is feeling ill this morning and said that she couldn't make it, so I'm covering her slides. And she wanted to reemphasize that the incentive tracker, all the incentives are pretty much mostly automatic in the sense that I'm the one tracking them on the dashboard. So keep up doing your district success points, or sorry, club success points in the district club program. And every week or so, I go into the system and check on whoever has stuff in the dashboard. And they're designed to reward clubs that complete pathways, education levels, and get members for their clubs. Toastmasters, and check your district bucks as often as you can, because if you spend them, that way you have spent the money that just the district gives us for you. And the deadline to file and concur is towards the end of May. So please, 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 if you're earning money, which some of you already have already, spend it. Next slide, please. Also, in case you haven't been reading your email from the digest, there is a survey out to help you make Toastmasters Leadership Institute more interesting. Last summer, only 63% of the clubs sent their officers to training, and we can do better than that. So if somebody didn't attend training, the survey is especially for them. We want to know why people skip training, and we can adapt before we schedule these things in to maybe help you out. So please have your clubs fill out the survey. Area directors, please relay this to your clubs. It's in the newsletter we sent out earlier this week. And pretty much that is all we wanted to say. TLI is next month, second Saturday, where the DECM normally would be. Hope to see you there. Next slide, please. And also, if you really want to go on a road trip and attend training for TLI really, really early, I got this from our neighbors, soon to be roommates for District 205, which is District 4, and they're running their TLI in person. It's next weekend, and it runs for 5 hours. Why? Because number one, they serve lunch for people who show up in person. You can't get that online, can you? But also, they run some excellent breakout sessions and workshops besides officer training. And there's a presentation by Gavel Club as well, apparently. The sign-up link is on the screen there if you're interested. If you really want to see other Toastmasters in person, here's your chance. And we are inviting them to ours for the people in San Francisco who don't want to drive to TLI. All right, and that is Marine slides. On to Dennis.
Hey, that's me. So just area directors, I want to remind you, please populate the spreadsheet with your affinity or proximity club ideas. I and the club expansion team, hi Deborah, are going to help you get the word out and bring in potential members. And I'll share the link again here in the chat. And that's my report.
And I believe we have Hans for Lisa online.
I'm
Or is Lisa
online, and then Hans
good.
will be
Awesome.
delivering the report.
Okay. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Jeff.
Hans, you are up.
All right. Thank you, Jeff, and hello, everyone. From a PR standpoint, I'll be really quick. One of the main vehicles that we communicate with you is via the newsletter. It's a monthly vehicle, and I just want to make you aware of how you can find it. On the top of this slide is the email subject title where you can find it. It was sent out November 5th. Also, we welcome article submissions. They are due on the 20th of each month, and the address to send them is at the bottom of the slide. Next slide, please. Over the next few weeks, we have some exciting workshops intended to help you create materials to promote your clubs. So this is very important to communicate with your VPPRs. This is all about creating material to share on social media. First, on November 19 is a seminar about how to use Canva to create high-quality flyers, banners, and other graphic designs. Then, on December 3rd, Ed Cullen will lead a workshop about how to capture club joy through the eyes of a photographer. If you want to become better at producing high-quality content, I encourage you highly to attend both of these. Next slide, please. As Jeff mentioned earlier, there's a lot of different incentives that clubs can use to earn district bucks. Some of those incentives are called PR incentives because they're designed to encourage clubs to promote themselves online. The link to that incentive list is posted on the left on this slide. And at the bottom of that incentive list, you will see 3 incentives from the PR team. First, there's an incentive that all you have to do as a club, all you have to do is take 5 photographs and share them on district social media platforms. The deadline for that is not until April 30th. The second incentive is if you create 3 newsletters before the end of April, you'll qualify for that. And finally, there's an incentive to create a short 30 to 60-second video about what makes your club special, and that is due by the end of this year. So please check out those incentives and encourage your clubs to participate. They will help your club grow and be happy and succeed. Thank you, and back to you, Jeff.
Hans,
Yes.
when you say the end of this year, you mean this calendar year, December 31st.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Thank you, Dennis. Yes, that particular incentive for the videos is December 31st.
Cool.
And you have a question in the chat, Hans. Can you clarify what counts as a district site?
Oh, we're encouraging people to share them on the district social media sites, including Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
All right.
And of course, share them within your own networks as well.
Do we have that in the weekly newsletter links?
All the details are up on the incentive tracker, and
They're also-
Somi is in charge of the incentives, so she'll field questions after this meeting.
Yeah, and to Jeff's point, all the links to our district platforms and social media platforms are in that weekly email that you send out, Jeff. Like, for example, you sent one, I believe, on Thursday or something like that.
Technically winging sending them, but yes, they have
Okay.
my name attached to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the bottom, so they're on bottom of that page. And does a club page within the district count? Is the question from Amanda.
Sorry, I don't have the chat open. What was the question again?
The question was, does a club page within the district count? So if a club maintains its own website or they're on free host toast, for example.
Yeah. In fact, that's the most important place to put your content is on your website and on your Facebook page. Those two combined are the biggest ways people find your club. So that comes before putting it on district sites, in my opinion.
Okay, so that will count for credit then, sounds like that.
Yeah.
All right,
It's
let's
yeah.
Okay, if there are further questions, can we hold them to the end? We have a very tight schedule today. Deborah, you had a request to talk about new clubs. Dennis, are you okay having Deborah talk now, or are we too tight for time?
Yeah, that's fine. Keep it to 1 to 2 minutes, please, Deborah.
Sure.
Okay, watch me for the timing.
Okay, so I'm just wanting everyone to know that I'm reaching out to ask for help and support in opening new corporate and community Toastmaster clubs in our district. And I've been actively identifying organizations and communities that would benefit from a Toastmasters club. And I'm excited to share that I do have a Microsoft Teams meeting scheduled with representatives from BART in Oakland on Friday, December 12th at 10 a.m. to discuss launching a new corporate club at BART. So to make this and other potential clubs successful, I would appreciate district support in this in the following ways. Having someone come on to that meeting with me. Also, when the meeting is set up to go and have a mock meeting at BART, I would need support from our district, people to come and we run a Toastmaster meeting and show them how it's done and sign up their members. So my goal is to create a supportive process for, creating new clubs. And my goal is to open a Toastmasters club at BART. So I want to make this happen. I'm just asking for support from our district. So anyone that's interested in working with me, let's see, I'm going to put my email in the chat, and I can also send an email out to you, Dennis, and to the other district, the trio. And if you give me some names of people that
Yes.
are available, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, Deborah, we do have a demo team. So this is really great to hear. I'm surprised to hear about it here, but fantastic, Bart.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. And Hans, was that your last slide?
That was, yes.
Okay. In that case, I would like to turn off my yellow screen here and hand over control. It is my great pleasure to do so to the people running today's Train the Trainer content for the DECM. And that is Brendan Murphy and Dennis Dawson.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. Thank you, leaders. I'm very excited to introduce to you the star of today's show. It is not a person, it is actually a program, which I consider the best program that Toastmasters International has ever put together, from speaker to trainer. I put the link into the chat because we're going to go through this material fairly quickly, but I'm hoping you can grab this as a reference for future, because I know it has changed my life as a trainer within Toastmasters and a trainer at work, getting opportunities to train because I did this program. Now, in addition to that star of the show, you have two facilitators, as you'll see on the next slide. One of them's the real Santa, and one of them's Dennis Dawson. Now, I'm upset because this guy that I'm working with today always copies me. I was first a Santa when I was 17. Years later, when Dennis got his little white whiskers, he not only became a Santa and very popular, he became the Santa at Christmas in the Park in San Jose. And I help out there, but everybody knows Dennis, Dennis, Dennis. I joined Toastmasters in 1997. Almost a decade later, he joined Toastmasters. Okay, follow me around, why don't you? But I became a club officer, and he became a district officer, including a past district governor. I became a DTM. He's got 3 DTMs. I won 2 speech contests. Dennis, how many speech contests have you won up to this point? Like 4 or 5 or whatever. He keeps on showing me up, but in a good way. He inspires me, he challenges me, and all of Toastmasters is a great thing, because without Toastmasters, I never would have met a Dennis Dawson like. And so just being able to be around him and learn from him is a great thing. I also know that I've been doing training within Toastmasters because of his leadership, and because of that, I was able to train outside. So when we present this material today, I'm very excited to say that we've been able to apply it within and outside of the organization. So what we're going to do is go through what we first need to cover is begin by creating a comfortable learning environment as soon as participants enter the room. Smile, show enthusiasm, greet participants as they arrive, chat with them. They're human beings after all. And then establish credibility and identification early in the session. Maintain eye contact with participants, periodically look directly at each participant. I can see you all now. Now use humor. Laughter aids in establishing an informal, friendly atmosphere. And I'll say this, I did a graduate's program at Stanford School of Business, and they talk about humor and storytelling being so important to leadership. It's also important in leading a trainer. Now, You're going to bounce around, whether in person or remotely, and we'll do that a little bit later, and make your presence felt and avoid distracting, behaviors like chewing gum, burping, or doing other things like that. So when we come to what we have to do after you get that rapport built, you need to break the ice and get participants involved within the first 20 minutes. Let me repeat that, within the first 20 minutes. This will show that you are a trainer rather than a lecturer. If you ignore everything Dennis says for the rest of this session, please remember this. Not involving participants within the first 20 minutes will result in them resorting to the conditioning they received as school children. They become passive and are less apt to share experiences and get involved in the learning process. So Dennis, what do you think? Maybe do an icebreaker now or wait an hour?
Oh, Brendan, I think that you should do it right away.
Okay, well, let's do the icebreaker called Great Expectations. We're going to ask each of you to share your name, the location from which you are Zooming, and what you hope to learn during this training session. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to ask each person individually. I'm just going to go through alphabetically. And again, as you'll see on the next slide, we're just asking the name, the location from which you are Zooming, and what you hope to learn during this training session. So let's get into that. Let me look at our list. Again, it's going alphabetically. Oh, I have some co-presenters at the top. So I'm going to start with Jeffrey Young. Jeffrey Young, what do you hope to learn from the session in addition to your name, and from where art thou Zooming?
I am Jeff Young. As you know, I'm the district director, and as a person who has a lot of passion for teaching, I'm looking for tips and tricks and things that I hadn't thought of, I hadn't seen, because I really appreciate having seen you do Train the Trainer some years ago, which is why one of the reasons you and Dennis were invited to do this today. And as for everyone Zooming, I'm Zooming from my living room in Hayward.
Nice. Thank you for getting us started, Jeff. Hans, I'm going to go to you. Your name, from where are you Zooming, and what you hope to learn during this session. And Hans, we got you on mute if you are speaking.
Oops, I'm sorry, I missed you. My name's Hans Thoma, and I am Zooming from Walnut Creek, California. What I hope to learn during this session is how to creatively engage the audience, trying to make activities that will actually make them pay attention and hopefully retain that information instead of just listening, reading a slide.
Nice. I think we're going to get you covered there, Hans. Thank you so much. Wing.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. Winglock, zooming from San Pablo, California, on the west side of Contra Costa County. I walk around at work, and I see that people who have knowledge, but they may not have the knowledge to teach. And that's sad, because the knowledge transfer that is required from a workplace or just, well, in Toastmasters as well, is great. And that's something that is not expressed, even though it is desire, the quote unquote soft skills that we practice in Toastmasters that, yeah, people say, oh, they want, but they don't emphasize. So I myself haven't been formally trained, so I would like to hear more about things that I can apply to work, and also Toastmasters, teaching my skills to pass the knowledge along. Thank you very much for doing it.
Thank you. And you've come to the right place, sir. Appreciate it.
Brendan, I have a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
Since we're on Zoom, could we use chat and have everyone answer the questions all at once?
We certainly could. That's a great suggestion. So if you could, we want to get you involved here. You heard our co-host on Zoom doing it. If you could emulate that by putting that into the chat so we get to know you a little bit, your name, from where you are Zooming. And if your name might have some difficult pronunciations that you've experienced in the past, give us a little phonetic discussion of how to pronounce your name. But everybody, if you would take a moment to get involved by giving us your name, from where you are zooming, and we hope to learn during this session. And as those come in here, I see we got a couple of new items here. All right, thank you, Kurt. Lisa, Caribbean Ocean, nice, Lisa. Cool. Yin, thank you, Yin, nice. Yeah, I'm sure you get Ying a lot, right? Man, got Charles Vallejo. Nice. Cool. We're getting quite a few here, and just looking for a few more. And I think we're almost ready to go.
Shruti, that's a very good question, something you can volunteer for in the future. One of the things we'll be doing today is giving everybody the opportunity to do a little audition so that we can start assigning people to training opportunities for TLI and into the future.
Right. Fantastic, Meredith. Good stuff there. And we'll give a few more moments. Nice. Thank you, Hans. All right, while you're finishing that up, we're going to bounce to, we're going to keep on this slide. I just want to talk about, congratulations. Not only did you do the icebreaker, you also provided the gap analysis by telling us what you hope to learn today. Now, the first step in developing a successful training program is to determine participants' needs. What do they need to get the training in? You must identify what participants should be doing and what they actually are doing. Determining the gap between their current skill level and their required skill level is called gap analysis. It can be done in a variety of ways. And as you saw, we just gave us the info for your expectations, which we can use to compare and contrast with our lesson plan. Speaking of our lesson plan, here is the agenda for today. Dennis will soon talk about the difference between giving a speech and leading a training session. This idea connects with the theory of how adults learn. This theory is the foundation for everything you'll plan to do as a trainer. We'll then list the methods from which you can choose when training adults, as well as the techniques you can use to facilitate the growth of the adult learner. We'll wind it down with a discussion on the 3 Ps of evaluating and enhancing a workshop. Then I'll wrap up our part of the morning by summarizing what was shared. Now, over to Dennis.
Thank you, Brendan. All right, now everybody here is an accomplished speaker, but speakers aren't necessarily trainers. The purpose of a speaker is to inform, persuade, or entertain. A trainer provides information for the audience to apply after attending the training to motivate the audience to actively participate in the program. Now, speakers use one-way communication. The speaker speaks, the audience listens. The trainer uses two-way communication to ensure that everyone is involved in the learning process. To create a learning environment, the trainer spends only 30% of the time lecturing. The remainder of the time is used in applying the material and interacting with participants. There's going to be an exception today, and I'll explain that later. Thus, the process of training differs from speaking as well. Instead of talking to the audience, a trainer talks with the audience, asking them what they know. A trainer compares that to what they need to know and then fills in the missing information. The speaker uses humor and anecdotes as the primary tools for an effective presentation. The trainer uses these tools too, but also others: lectures, role plays, exercises, case studies, and demonstrations. Since those tools are essential to trainers, we'll discuss them in detail later. The final difference between a speaker and a trainer lies in feedback on the presentation. A speaker receives immediate feedback through applause. A trainer receives feedback through written evaluations from the audience and through observation. He or she observes participants to see if they're applying what they've learned. I'll cover these three elements in evaluating a training program at the end of today's session. Now, training adults requires a different skill set from training children. Now, what are some ways you think teaching children is different than teaching adults? You can put your answer into the chat, or you can come off mute and give your idea. What's the difference between teaching children and adults? It's absolutely true, Jeff. When you're a very young child, you realize you don't know anything. When you're a teenager, you realize you know everything. And then when you are slightly older than a teenager, you realize you know nothing. And by the end of your life, when you get to this age, you realize that there is so much more to learn that you should have paid attention. Yes, Lisa, adults can learn faster and are often more motivated, and they're more internally motivated. Very good. Yeah. Renee, absolutely right. Adults learn through play, as do children. Now, Yin, hard to change their original thoughts. Is that adults?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Getting people to unlearn things. Very tricky. Absolutely right. You were going to teach this course, is that right? Yeah. That definitely foreshadows a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about. So pedagogy is the teaching method for children. It's characterized by a teacher-led instruction, a focus on foundational knowledge, and external motivation. In contrast, andragogy is the method for adult learning, characterized by self-directed learners, experience-based learning, problem-centered approaches, and internal motivation. So adults prefer to be involved in the planning and evaluation of their instruction. They use their past experiences as a resource for learning, which includes past mistakes. Adult learning is most effective when it's focused on solving real-life problems rather than just memorizing content. And adults are motivated to learn when the subject matter is immediately relevant and useful to their job or personal life. The 5 principles for teaching adult learners is that adults need to understand why something is important to know or do. They need to have freedom to learn in their own way. The more flexible the program, the more engaging it will be. Learning is experiential. Giving the participants time and space to solve problems is vastly more productive than giving them your own pat answers. If you tell them an answer, only one brain is involved. If you have them brainstorm a solution, then all of the brains in the room are working together. The experience is more satisfying and memorable for everyone. Now, they learn best when the time is right for them to learn. Teach them things they can use immediately upon returning to their clubs. Don't focus solely on changes coming next year or the way things used to be in the legacy manual program. Teach them skills contemporaneous to what they're doing today. Now, the education process is positive and encouraging. Give specific feedback about what they're doing well. It's easy to give details about areas for improvement, but be sure you're not giving empty superlative feedback. Give specific details about what they're doing best. Now, when training for District 57, you will use the Toastmasters Standard training resources. This way, you don't have to do the course development yourself. But keep these tips in mind when you use the canned materials. First of all, study the script content and presentation format carefully so you're at ease. The importance of preparation cannot be overemphasized. Don't read the script when you present your workshop. Instead, paraphrase the script in your own words, injecting your own presentation style. Orchestrate your script. Now, you want to mark areas where you want to place special verbal emphasis. Underline words or sentences that are going to be most important to help you present the workshop effectively. Now, be expressive. Use all of your Toastmaster skills. Maintain eye contact to keep the participants involved. Use vocal variety and gestures. And with enough preparation, you only need to scan the pages in order to stay on track and avoid reading the script word for word. Brendan, are you going to introduce this slide?
I would love to introduce that slide, Mr.
Would you
Dawson. Now that we know how adults like to learn, let's talk about some training methods that follow those principles.
Okay, first of all, lecture, and as the name implies, lecture is a prepared talk. It is the most used and abused technique in the training field. It's easy to abuse the lecture technique by talking too long, resulting in a loss of participation and feedback from the group. Yet, despite this method's drawbacks, it's effective if you must cover a large amount of material in a short time, which is why there's lots of lecture in our presentation this morning. We're doing a 4-hour presentation in under 2 hours. Now, following are some suggestions to make lectures more effective and interactive. When you must lecture, don't forget to use your acquired public speaking skills. Tell them what you're going to tell them, tell it to them, and then tell them what you just told them. By rephrasing main points, you ensure retention of the material. To make your lecture more interesting, abandon the lectern and don't read from a script. Personalize your talk by using stories and anecdotes to illustrate your points. Don't forget to include the practical how-to material. So when you're lecturing, lecture no longer than 15 minutes before introducing some interactive exercise. Change the speaker every 10 minutes or sooner. Alternate male-female voices if possible. Limit the lecture to 6 major points or participants' attention are going to wander. Use visuals to serve as memory stimulants. Use handouts. Give an outline of the program to each participant. This encourages everyone to take notes. Ask questions to involve the group and check on retention. A key to making a lecture more interesting is to involve participants. So you can separate the participants into groups of 3 to 5 people to discuss a specific topic, or have them use their creativity to solve a puzzle.
Adult learning theory states that we learn best by doing. Training capitalizes on this fact by letting individuals become actively involved in learning experiences. Since the highest retention rate is achieved by using participant exercises, the rest of the methods we'll be discussing, role play, exercises, case study, and demonstration, all follow the same format. 1, participants experience a given situation. 2, participants share their reaction with the group. 3, the trainer generalizes the situation by developing principles. And 4, the participants apply the principles. The participants apply the principles. Now, a role play allows participants to make practical and immediate use of the theories and techniques presented in the session by allowing them to act out a real-life situation in a risk-free setting in a role play. A specific situation involving several people is described, and each member of the group is assigned a part to play. One person acts as an observer, very important. Participants then act out the given situation, responding naturally to the words and actions of the other. The observer watches the interaction among the participants, making notes about their responses and behaviors. Players then discuss their responses with the observer. The players change roles and repeat the process until all have played each role. Role-playing is a valuable teaching aid. It enables participants to practice the new methods they have learned during classroom instruction. Because these are simulated situations, participants can experiment and try out the new methods they've learned without the risks such experimenting involves in real life. Though role-playing participants develop a greater awareness of the needs, a feeling of others, awareness of their personal weakness, and greater insight into the dynamics of various situations.
Now, the case study is a presentation of an actual incident. However, a case study lacks complete information, leaving it open for participation and interpretation. Participants read the case and, with the trainer's guidance, discuss it. Case studies enable participants to develop their analytical and problem-solving skills as they identify possible solutions to the situation described in the case study. There are no right or wrong answers. The only criteria is that the analysis or recommendation be supported by logical and realistic explanations. Since analysis can be time-consuming, case studies may take more time than other learning methods. So follow these basic steps for a case study. Introduce the case. Have participants outline a plan of action and be able to justify their decisions and the potential consequences of their decisions. Record the responses. You can do this on a flip chart or whiteboard to document the flow of the discussion. At times, the participants might want to write calculations on the board while explaining the rationale for the solution. Summarize the results. Review the main themes and issues, and explain how the material applies to the case situation.
In a demonstration, a trainer provides knowledge and skill by following a step-by-step procedure. The trainer simulates an actual situation so the learner can gain active experience. For example, a trainer may demonstrate how to change a flat bicycle tire. The demonstration method is most effective for skill-oriented training. Think about how difficult it would be to describe through a lecture how to change a flat tire. The demonstration method works best with small groups because it's important that everyone can see the demonstration. Explain the process, explain each step in the process, conduct the demonstration. Have participants view a video or watch you actually do the activity. Analyze the process, engage the participants in the activity by having them analyze what was done. Practice how participants practice. Allow participants to practice the process themselves. Provide the feedback, give the participants feedback about their performance. Dennis?
Okay, we know the items we want to teach. Let's look at the possible ways to teach them. Now, why do you think that asking questions is an effective training technique? You can answer in the chat or you can come off mute. Why do you think that asking questions is an effective training technique?
Hands.
That's how you are able to solidify whether they understand what it is that you have taught or what you're training, what you're saying.
Very good. Yes, you know that someone understands something if they're able to paraphrase what you've just been talking about. When they say it in their own words, you know that it's gone in and it's come back out.
Question, is it more effective to ask for verbal answers or go for a poll with a show of hands style question to the audience?
Well, it depends on the question. We'll talk about the different kinds of questions that you can ask in just a moment. Yeah, Deborah says, ask the right question, you will get the right answer. Absolutely true. One of the things that you can do is push polling. It gets the name from, this is very often when you get a phone call from a candidate, you can hear them doing the push poll when they say, why do you think our candidate is more likely to lower taxes? Things like that. So it's not just a question, but you're actually prompting the answer. And Ray, that's absolutely right. Because you're engaging the audience. Yin, same thing. It brings the audience attention so that you can check whether or not they're actually absorbing what you're saying. Very good. So by building questions into your lesson plan and directing them to individuals in the group, you reinforce adult learning theory by stimulating participants' interest and motivating them to listen more carefully. You can ask several types of questions: direct and overhead, open, and closed. A direct question is asked of one particular person, whereas an overhead question is directed to the entire group. I just did an example of an overhead question. A direct question is used if you want to get a particular person's attention or draw out a shy member of the group. Bob, what do you think we can do to attract new members to our club? That sort of thing. An overhead question is used to stimulate discussion by challenging the group as a whole. How can we increase interest in our club? Chat amongst yourselves, that sort of thing. Now, an open question solicits one's opinion or attitude, so a variety of responses are available. The participant isn't put on the spot because the right answer can fall within a reasonable range. There is no one right answer. What should our membership goal be this year? There are many good answers to that. On the other hand, closed questions tend to be factual, where the answer includes a specific piece of information. Closed questions are usually asked to test the participant's memories or to evaluate the material. Closed questions are a quick, easy way to get feedback without using a lot of time. Do you know what our membership goal was last year? No, we had a goal. There's only going to be one answer. If no one offers an answer, as you saw, I paused for a few seconds to let people gather their thoughts and formulate an answer. After observing body language or cues that indicate someone has an idea, I'll call on that person to reply. If the answer is correct, I reinforce it. If it's incorrect, I might rephrase the question and call on someone else. When developing questions, make sure they're simply worded. Avoid technical jargon. This will reduce any misunderstanding of the question. Ask questions that are thought-provoking, yet aren't beyond the participant's realm of knowledge. Amplify points that haven't been fully covered by relating questions to the program objectives. Now, Jeff, did I answer your question, or there's the thumbs up. Thank you.
All right. In training, the trainer gives participants feedback throughout the program for them to assimilate and use beyond the scope of the program. Feedback used in training sessions helps participants interpret their behavior and understand how it affects others. The process of giving feedback is delicate. If not given properly, it can do more harm than good. That's why it's important to follow some basic guidelines when giving feedback to program participants. Don't overload the person with information. Address a limited number of critical behaviors. If a participant continues to do 5 things that you are trying to discourage, do not address all 5. Instead, select 1 or 2 things on which the person should focus. Be specific and factual. Refer to specific behaviors to which you are reacting. Respond immediately after the event. Feedback is most useful if you don't delay your response. Be tactful. Stress the positive as well as the negative. And of course, be clear. Have the participant restate your feedback comments to assure that he or she clearly understood what you said.
Now, with regard to visual aids, research shows that 83% of all we learn is through sight. Specifically, research indicates that trainees generally remember 20% of what they hear, 50% of what they hear and see, and 70% of what they hear, see, and do. Thus, using visuals in your program will greatly increase your participants' engagement and retention level. You can use PowerPoint slides, flip charts, or whiteboards. Visuals also serve as a helpful tool for you, the trainer. Since the purpose of visual aids is to outline major points, they reduce the possibility that you're going to omit one of the program objectives. Now, here's some tips on making your PowerPoint visuals. Use minimal text on screen. A TED Talk, for example, usually has fewer than 14 words on all of the slides in the entire presentation. You want to change the slide at least once per minute. Don't let a visual remain on screen when you move on to another topic. Talk to your audience, not to the visual. Nothing is worse than having a trainer talk to a screen. Have one topic per slide or build the slide by section. This technique keeps you on track by revealing one point at a time. Now, handouts can serve as an outline that participants can follow to keep on track. In addition, participants can use handouts to take notes. They're an excellent medium to convey detailed information which would be inappropriate for flip charts or PowerPoint visuals. Participants can keep handouts for future reference. This assures that participants receive the information and can easily refer to it later.
Whew. Now comes the sad but true part of being a trainer. Not all participants may be receptive to your efforts. Some may try to disrupt the group and get you off track. To get back on track, focus on the current topic by restating the lesson objective you are currently addressing. Some of the most difficult problems you encounter are people problems. At times, you may have to actually address disruptive individuals when they continue to have a negative influence on the group. And you also have to be aware of that one character that Dennis already mentioned, the shy person. You have to manage that difficult behavior as well. Now, fundamentally, when dealing with people's behaviors, we'll cover them four most common, it's important to approach the situation using a win-win method. Remember, it's not your function as a trainer to embarrass anyone. You can't say, I'm out smarter than you, or be overbearing with your sense of authority. Following are the four most common types of behaviors and some suggestions on how to handle them. We're in Toastmasters, so we have talkative people. You're going to experience this one a lot if you train officers this upcoming December. These people are long-winded and monopolize the entire conversation, the entire session indeed. Since it's important for other participants to have the opportunity to contribute, it's your responsibility to deal firmly with talkers. Divert their energy. Suggest that the talkative people participate in active listening. Since they are usually poor listeners anyway, get them on that track. Now, to prevent talkative people from stealing valuable lesson time, summarize the major points made and turn the discussion back to the group. If the talkers insist on participating, ask them closed questions to which they can only reply yes or no. On the flip side, every session is going to have your silent types. Now, whether these people are shy or reserved, or they rarely offer any comments in response to open questions because they may feel that their comments or ideas will be ridiculed by the group. The solution is to include silent people in the discussion, encourage them to participate, and support their ideas. Ask them open-ended questions because it gives them an opportunity to express an idea without wondering if their answer is precisely right. If you're having a problem eliciting a response, follow with an expectant, friendly look, then listen actively and respond when necessary.
Can you
And
give
of
an example
course,
of an open-ended question?
an open-ended question would be, Jeff, how do you feel about open-ended questions?
They make me nervous.
There we go.
But then I turn into a tabletop question.
I love it. Now,
This is me
there are
interrupting.
also
Demonstrate.
a good demonstration there. Now, we also have crabs in training. And if your training is well organized and moves quickly, I think you can eliminate crabby behavior. But even with that, people just had a bad day the day before, didn't sleep well. They come in crabby. It's going to be hard to change their behavior. So be prepared to deal with these people. Now, they find fault with everything. It's not the material, it's the physical environment that disturbs them. If you have such pessimists in the crowd, you may hear complaints like, do we have to participate in this exercise? This room is too cold. These people can put a damper on the rest of the group if not properly dealt with. Ignoring complainers only gives them license to continue. Allow me to repeat. Ignoring complainers only gives them license to continue. To declaw crabs, acknowledge their complaints and determine if their complaints are legitimate. If the complaints are problems that can be easily corrected, have the crabs suggest solution and get feedback from the group. If the complaints aren't justified, suggest that you hope they will reserve judgment until the program is completed. Ah, yes. And then we come to the know-it-alls. These people are experts concerning the subject at hand. They can be very condescending as they add or correct what you've said. This disturbs the group because often these individuals offer unsolicited opinions and contradictions which undermine your authority. Now, in dealing with know-it-alls, avoid getting into arguments and try to promote win-win situations without discrediting you or the know-it-alls. One way to do this is to acknowledge the know-it-alls' main points and thank them for their contributions. If they continue to press the point, tell them you are curious about their reason for attending your workshop in the first place. If the know-it-alls obviously don't know what they're talking about, suggest that they may be mistaken, yet allow them to save face. Again, we're trying to be training, not overbearing, and just rely on your authority. Allow them to save face and say, hey, you might be mistaken there. Allow me to continue. Now,
And Brendan, we should keep this in mind when we attend other people's training as well. Very often, I believe I know more than the person who is teaching in a club office training situation, and I do have to bite my tongue and not interact, not interrupt, not contradict what's being said, as long as what they're saying is also in line with Toastmasters guidelines.
it's a good point, Dennis, and I think everybody's there. You'll see Dennis try to suggest somebody that, oh, did you mean December as opposed to January? And I think that's a great way of saying, I think I have knowledge to share, but I don't want to undermine authority. So I just want to ask a question. So good point about how we can avoid being a know-it-all or disruptive in a training. Now, how to
Also,
handle
Oh,
yeah, Jeff.
also jumping for a second here because I can, but if you like or need practice on this sort of stuff, there is a perfect pathways project for this. Managing audio interruptions, I recommend everyone do it at least once.
Yeah, it's very powerful. Of course, this information that Dennis and Jeff just brought up is information that you will use outside of Toastmasters as well as inside. But overall, as a trainer, you have to remember how to handle conflict. You may get other types of characters that we just mentioned, those four, but occasionally disruptive people may cause conflict among several participants. Again, you're focused on training the material, your techniques and all that, but you are still the leader of the group. Now, if disruptive people are causing conflict, quickly step in and play arbitrator. Before the situation escalates, don't take sides, but concentrate on points of agreement. To find a resolution, emphasize the importance of ideas rather than personalities. If the discussion drags on and takes too much time, call for a break or suggest that the discussion may be continued at the end of the session. Mastering skills to manage problem participants takes time and practice, just as learning basic facilitation skills does. Dennis?
all right. So let's talk about how we evaluate the presentation after we're finished. There are 3 P's of evaluation: program, presenter, participants. As a trainer, you should determine if the training program was successful. The program design should incorporate the following program objectives. Uh, were the objectives clearly stated? Were objectives measurable and attainable? Did the design incorporate adult learning theory? Was the material relevant to the participants' needs? Was the lesson plan organized? And were activities useful in understanding the material? Now, as a new trainer, you may feel especially sensitive to written evaluations from participants. Once you realize that the evaluation is meant to be helpful rather than critical, you're going to be able to improve. Following is a list of questions you should include when designing a presenter evaluation. What part of the presentation did you like best and least? Was the trainer prepared? Was the trainer knowledgeable in the subject area? Did the visual aids add to your understanding of the material? And how effective was the trainer's presentation? Participants' feelings and opinions regarding the program are an important area because word will get out concerning your effectiveness as a trainer. The evaluation may include open-ended questions such as, how did you feel about the participative exercises? How would you rate the various parts of the program? How do you think the program could be improved? And then you can also evaluate the participants' learning. Have the participants post in chat their main takeaway from the session. This helps them to capture the information while reinforcing it for others. Pass out an evaluation form. Pay attention to their feedback. Keep in mind that the commentary is generally going to be gentle. Mild concerns from your participants can actually be major areas for improvement. On the other hand, sometimes the feedback is unreasonably harsh. As a rule of thumb, I ignore the very best evaluation and the very worst. The real feedback is somewhere between the two. So at this point, I'd like to hear from each of you. If you would type into the chat, what's your one takeaway from the training that we've done today? Yeah, you're absolutely right, Wing. It's one thing to take the Toastmasters materials and present them, and a lot of people think, oh, I've already got a script, it's already taken care of for me. And they might not really look at the materials until the day of. Well, it could be that you've got better examples from your own experience that you can introduce in the training. And Toastmasters really does want you to do that. They want you to absorb the material that you're going to present, but they definitely want you to change it to adapt to your presentation styles. Greg, that's a really good point. Uh, Adapting to the different levels of the students as they come in. You find that out with the gap analysis by asking the questions, what is it that people are anxious to learn about? Very often, I've gone into a training situation, and I like to start most club officer training with a discussion of how the person's role fits into the Distinguished Club program. If I find out that nobody in the room knows what the Distinguished Club program is, this happened when I was training down in District 101 years ago, then the first thing I'm going to do is talk about the Distinguished Club program in general so that I can say how it applies to that particular officer role. Mhm. This is all great stuff. And by the way, this speaker to trainer material is available. You can purchase it from the Toastmasters site, uh, and you'll have all of the notes and all of the cool stuff that we've been talking about today. All right. So, Brendan,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
summarize.
no. Yeah, thank you, Dennis, and thank you, everybody. To conclude and do a quick summary now, if we've trained you well this morning, you'll remember that adults learn differently than children. So you should not train them as if they do learn like children. Instead, build rapport, determine the gaps which you'll need to fill, recognize that you'll be training as opposed to giving a speech, Add variety with a combination of lecture, role play, case studies, and demonstrations. Facilitate the attendees' learning using questions, feedback, and visual aids, all while managing difficult behavior. And finally, evaluate and enhance your training program. In other words, be prepared to give RI, real instruction. Dennis?
Okay, any questions or comments before we move on?
You have a question in the chat from Wing. Pretender syndrome, is mastery of the material to be trained essential? I'm sure some of the more knowledgeable prospective trainers would think I'm not good enough. What do you say about that?
I was typing an answer to that, but now I'll go ahead and do it verbally. First thing you do is really master the material that Toastmasters gives us. So read through it, understand what each of the slides is going to be about, understand what you're going to be training people on. Now, let's see. Well, I don't want to pick on somebody in particular. Always remember that there are no experts and there are no teachers in Toastmasters. None. Now, we do training, but it's just peers sharing their ideas with peers. You can have brand new trainers and people who are new to the Toastmasters organization. I started training other officers inside of my first year of joining Toastmasters. Why did I do it? Well, I have experience with training from my professional life, and I mastered the material that I was talking about. Was I as effective as some of the other trainers? No, because I didn't have the Toastmasters experience under my belt, but I was able to provide good rendition of the training for the particular office. Sergeant at Arms is the first one I did. I was able to do the training quite effectively, and people were really pleased with the training that I had done. But the one thing you always want to keep in your quiver, it's the same thing as evaluating speeches. I saw, I heard, I felt, and in this case, I experienced. So you can never be wrong if you say, this is something I saw in my club. This is something I've witnessed it with other speakers. This is one of the ways I've seen presidents work effectively. You can never be wrong if you talk about what you have experienced there. So it's not you should do this, you should do that, or everybody must, or everybody should. It's this is what I know from my experience. And so, Wing, that's how a brand new trainer can step right up and get involved right away. All they have to do is be sure that everyone knows that they're giving their own personal experience, their own personal opinion, and not trying to be the voice of Toastmasters. Yeah, Greg.
And thank you, Dennis. And just a thought with that to support what you're telling us. Many a time you'll see a Toastmasters who's been around for a long time and a new Toastmaster saying, wow, I don't know how to evaluate you. You've been around so much. I'm so new. I think the response is just like for a new instructor. Hey, your feedback is important. You're one of us. You're part of the organization. And you know different things than I know because even though I've been around longer, you have different experiences and different ideas to share. So I welcome what you have to either evaluate me with or to instruct me on.
Now, one thing that is sort of a minefield is Toastmasters experience when things are changing constantly. So very often I'll say, well, this is the way it works in Pathways, and Pathways has changed since the last time I looked at the lesson. So when someone says, no, well, I think it works like this, you shouldn't say, no, you're wrong. You should say, really? And go take a look because that's how experienced Toastmasters learn is from new people asking good questions. Yeah, Jeff.
As an instructor, if you were to stare in the mirror, not you personally, but are there 3 common mistakes that instructors might not notice they're making besides too many words on the slides? And what is something that anyone who wants to be an instructor here can take away to say, I never noticed I was doing this crazy thing or this bad thing, and I need to stop it right away?
Yeah. Brendan, what do you got?
I talk too much. I get excited and I go on and I forget, oh, this is supposed to be interactive. And I think that's a common mistake. And again, I do it both in Toastmasters. I did it when I was training a bunch of project managers at work. And that's the thing. You just have to remember your timing and not to overwhelm. Please think of little chunks and then little chance for them to digest those chunks and then give them another chunk and do some way of breaking it up. Talk, then activity, talk, then activity of some kind.
Yeah. 6 words that everybody should have readily available. It goes back to what I was just saying, really. I don't know. I'll find out and get back to people. Don't guess. Now, very often I can say that based on my experience with Toastmasters, I believe the answer would be XYZ. But I have to go back and check, and you want to keep everybody's email address because if you get it wrong, you want to be sure you follow up with the correct answer afterward. Yeah.
That's
And you,
actually a good one, is make sure you get the email addresses of your participants when you can. Because
yeah.
if you can't follow up, they'll go out thinking that you're wrong.
And Jeff, just one thing I'd like to just add that the material that we presented today is brilliant, but you didn't see all of its brilliance because we did a lot of talking and slide sharing. We're going to be doing some activities, but the material itself has these amazing activities that go along after you present a chunk of information. And again, it's brilliant how it's done. If you want to design a training, I would emulate from speaker to trainer because all the exercises are interconnected with what is discussed.
Yeah, the first part of speaker to trainer talks about doing the lesson planning and design. We didn't cover that here because the lesson planning has been done by Toastmasters and you'll use the Toastmasters materials. I will also give you a little preview that the revised club officer training is currently in beta test and it will be introduced next year. Uh, I actually had the opportunity to participate. I wrote the Sergeant at Arms section of it. Uh, it's entirely following the guidelines that we have just discussed, much more than the old uh, training, which mostly had words on the script and was mostly lecture. Certainly, there's going to be the first uh, session of training and then a second session of training. The second session is all interactive. So this is going to be some great stuff coming next year. And you'll notice I didn't focus on what's coming next year in this presentation. I just wanted to throw that out. Okay. All right, everybody. Your turn.
Woohoo!
So choose the officer role that you feel you know best. We're going to give you 15 minutes to prepare a 1 to 2 minute overview that you can present. We'll take you into a breakout room and let you give your overview, and then we will give you feedback on that. We're going to start getting people on a list for people who are going to be TLI trainers and TLI room monitors this year. So let me post these links in the chat. There we go.
And if there are folks in this DECM today that are not at all interested in being trainers, we would appreciate that you at least stick around and consider being room monitors because we need both of them. For those of you who have never been a trainer online before, the Zoom tends to take over the screen so the trainer can't see the chat or keep track of their time. And it's also nice having someone to be a backup if something happens to the trainer. We've had in the past, recent past, we've had to emergency press gang somebody into being a trainer more than once because the trainer did not appear. So basically, we would like your help whether you are trainer oriented or not. Is that correct, Dennis?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So can we see a show of hands in the React raise your hand? I'd like to see who is going to want to participate today in the training demonstration. Okay.
Or better yet, change your name to have either trainer or room RM for room monitor in front, or TRN for trainer, RM for room monitor. That way, when we set up the rooms, we know who needs to go where. And even if you have trained in the past, it doesn't hurt to have an outside opinion, because how often do we get feedback on the training that we do?
I have a question.
Yes.
Sure.
So Dennis asks, well, I would like to do one of the training. However, in the question, he said, well, if you feel like you're good at something, but what if you don't necessarily feel like you're good at it?
If I can take that, Dennis. It doesn't matter because you have the material. Trainers aren't necessarily the experts in their field. It helps if they are, but they need to know the material. And the best way to get better at something is to teach it. And I would encourage you to jump right in because, as Dennis said, Toastmasters International has all the material set up for you for success. You'll learn by doing, and by attending today's Train the Trainer, you get an idea of the to use.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
The whole purpose of these breakout sessions is to basically give you some help and advice and tips on how to be an excellent trainer. And that is why we're doing this as a live session. And we had them condense it into a much shorter presentation, so you all get the practical skills and advice you need in real time.
One thing that
Okay, I don't see VPPR.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Nadine.
I was saying I don't see VPPR. Sorry, in that.
And the list of
It
so
is
Nadine,
the fourth one down.
Or the fourth from the bottom, yes. Right in the middle.
Symmetry.
So is this only if we're available on December 13th, or is this?
No, this is for the entire series from now until the end of February, because we're going to need trainers for all of these sessions. The hope is to identify people who want to be trainers, so that way we can actually call on you instead of trying to find the same 7 people over and over. Not that the people like Deborah here are not great trainers, but we'd like to also spread the wealth a little bit and get some new blood in here. And so thank you for people who are volunteering to step up and do this.
Did
Great.
you guys
Tom, you got a question? Yeah.
actually create breakout rooms?
We did not. We're going to do that after we figure out who wants to be a trainer and who wants to be a room monitor, and we'll go from there, because we don't know how many we'll need until we know what we got.
Gotcha. I was pushing the button just to see if there were any.
Yeah, currently I see Ying, Charles, Nitin, and Renee are labeled or said in the chat they want to be trainers. So we have 4 people who are interested in training. Dennis, how many rooms do you think you'll want for that?
So Jeff, I had changed my name to trainer.
Okay, it doesn't show. Okay, there I see. Now I see it's TR. So that's 5 people and 6 with Dr. Nadine James.
Hans and Deborah.
and Greg
Okay.
Scott wants to train.
Okay.
Can
So how do you want to do this?
This is Renee. I want to clarify, I am willing to be a trainer, but I'm okay not being a trainer. Just saying.
All good.
Well, we're not okay with you not being a trainer, Renee,
That's what I'm
because
gonna
you
say.
have so much experience and you're such an engaging presenter that you don't get that option. Sorry.
Oh, right. Okay, thanks. So right
So you're okay?
now, are we supposed to be developing what we are interested in or willing to train, or what are
Yeah.
we doing right now
Yeah,
as participants?
Choose one of the links And I've got a link for each of the officer roles. Choose the one where you feel you have the most experience, the one that you're most interested in presenting. Take a look at the Toastmasters training materials and come up with a 1 to 2 minute overview, a little table topic. We just want to see your presentation style and how you would organize.
I'm not seeing a link, Dennis. I'm sorry.
They're in the chat right now.
You have to look at the
Oh,
last
okay, I
couple of
see.
letters on the link to know which one
Yeah.
the role is.
And I have a bonus challenge for all of you. Come up with one question that you would ask your audience as part of your pitch.